Welcome, low ego action heroes. This is Debbie Levitt from Delta CX. We're a full service CX and UX agency, and welcome to today's micro lesson, which will be the first in a long string of micro lessons that are all related. I will be streaming 11 times in the next 12 days and then beyond that as well. These will all be at 6:30 p.m. Italy time, which is not normally when you're expecting to see them because you changed clocks and I didn't, or something like that. So check what time 6:30 p.m. Italy time is to you. I think we changed clocks March 28th, and so the times are going to change again. So in these sets of micro lessons, we're going to take a look at observational research. Now remember, I don't have a master's degree in UX research. I'm not the top recognized expert on UX research. I am someone who does research quite often and has a lot of success with it. I have some of my own methods, and I have some fairly traditional methods. So I'm going to be showing you how I do it by creating a fake project. Today we're going to work together on the start of our fake project. Hello to Shamin and Shannon. We're going to be starting our fake project with planning the observational research. That means we're going to write a plan together, and we're going to come up with the discussion guide together. So that means I'm going to be looking to the chat room for your questions, ideas, suggestions of what we should or should not ask. I also need to mention that today is the last day that I will be streaming on Twitch. I'm going to be deactivating the account, or at least not streaming there anymore after this. Thank you to those who've joined on Twitch, but unfortunately it was an experiment that failed, especially because this stream will be interrupted multiple times by ads I can't control. At least on YouTube I can control the ads, and I've turned them all off. So please subscribe on YouTube and ring the bell so that you'll be notified whenever I go live, no matter what time zone or daylight savings it is. You can also join our Slack channel, which is totally free, deltacx.link/join Slack. And over in YouTube, if you would like to support the channel, since I'm not making you look at ads, you are welcome to use super chats and super stickers, or if you'd really like to support, we now have paid membership, so you'll see a join button. At the low level you get fun emoji, and at the higher level I'm going to do some special streams just for you. Still somewhat being planned, but that is the plan of the plan. So let's get started with hey Naz and Vitamin Panda. So let's get started with the fake project. Now, the way that I've designed this project is I had to come up with a way to show everybody how to approach some observational research without having a real project, without having a non-disclosure agreement, without showing you real data of real projects I did. So that means we're going to collect that data together. And I'm so grateful to the 8 friends of the show who have agreed to be our interviewee observational research guinea pigs. You'll meet them over the next week or two. We'll start on Wednesday with my boyfriend. Thank you to him. The plan is we're going to start with planning research today, and then we're going to start doing it. And I want all of you to join in live or watch the videos. They'll all be in the micro lessons playlist in the YouTube channel, Delta CX. And take notes, and that way, later on, we're going to do an affinity diagram together. I'll invite everybody anonymously to Mural, and I will have put some of my notes from the research. You can add yours, and we'll work together to combine them into themes. After that, we'll be doing task analysis and optimized task flow. We'll see if we've got some good personas, and eventually we'll write a research report. Again, and we missed some steps. This is imperfect. You know, we didn't send out a screener survey. We didn't have to deal with recruiting. So this is an imperfect look at research, but again, it's going to give you some look. Hi, Chang. Hi, Austin. Hi, Denise, on how to do it. So we're going to start today with, let me get my window set up. And I'm going to have the chat on half the screen, or about a third, you tell me. Let me press this button. So you should all see the chat. This is how I see your chat, by the way. And then you'll also see my research plan. I'm going to read you what I have so far, and then I want us to work together through the chat to make it better and for you to throw your ideas at me. Hi, Peter and Elijah. Following YouTube if you can, those of you on LinkedIn, because the delay on YouTube is much shorter. We timed it last week, remember everybody? And I think it was 14 seconds. And LinkedIn is sometimes 2 or 3 minutes. So it's a little bit closer to a conversation over on YouTube. And many of you can tell because nearly as soon as you write something, I will say hi to you or something like that. Hello, Tybalt. Hello, Avraham. Hello, Anita. You can judge when you wrote that or when you saw it written versus when I responded. I think it's about 14 seconds. So as you can see, I'm imagining that we work at a company called Kitchen Thingies. And we make kitchen smart home appliances, kitchen gadgets, and we have digital products too, apps and websites for people who are home cooks, not professional cooks. And now that we're a year or more into the pandemic, and many expect the pandemic to be a fact of life for another year or more and more people have had no choice but to cook more at home. So surveys, I'm pretending that our company has taken surveys and that we've already reviewed voice of the customer stuff. So customer support tickets, app reviews, a lot of that secondary research. I'm pretending a lot here. You've got to play with me. Wow, we've got someone on Twitch who is spamming us. Sorry, it's our last thing there. Oh, Pier Mario, are you watching this? Can I ask you to please log into Twitch and can you please ban the people in Twitch who are spamming us? Oh, sure. Yeah, sorry to send you back to Twitch, but it's the last night. Then you won't have to do this anymore. So people spamming us in Twitch, you're losers. Yeah, as soon as my boyfriend has moderating power, I'm not looking at it, so he's going to go in and block those people as they show up. So I apologize for that. And another reason why Twitch is a little less fun, there are weird spammers. Okay, so survey and voice of the customer, I'm pretending these happened, helped us realize how little we really knew about our customers, especially potential customers who have not yet purchased from us yet. This study aims to generate knowledge, insights, and opportunities around our potential customer groups. So again, I'm imagining that our project is a little bit pie in the sky. Your projects won't always be like this, but I'm imagining that our company's almost looking to their researchers like the research and development team, like, what should we do? What could we do that we could possibly make for people in this pandemic era? And so this is very kind of open-ended generative research just to get to know people, their tasks, their needs, and figure out if there's something that we can build. Now, if we end up coming up with a digital product, I will do micro lessons where I build the digital product, or at least information architecture, interaction design it. If we don't come up with a digital product, then, we'll move on. And again, as you see this, if you have something that you want to ask about it, or you see something you think you want me to change or add, I'm pretending we're all on the CX and UX team together. So let's see it over there in the chat room. You can see my chat room right over my head. So objectives and goals. Our research project aims to learn more about potential customers who currently do not use any Kitchen Thingies products or services at this time. So I'm pretending that if we had done a screener survey and recruiting, we would have looked for people who were not our customers to learn a little bit more about them, just in case they behave differently than some of our customers. We're curious if there are any product or service directions Kitchen Thingies should pursue that would solve problems or improve tasks for home cooks. Therefore, this research is generative, aiming to investigate potential customers somewhat generally. And again, I'm not saying that this is the most perfect plan ever. I'm just saying this is a little bit of a model of a plan, and you can certainly build it out more if you would like to do so. Hello, Charlene and Serena. And Wilson, and Sajish, and Emma Muzo. Everybody's here. I'm so happy to see you all. It's like family reunion. Methodology. The best way to learn about people, their tasks, mental models, and needs is to observe them. We will also interview our participants before and after the observational research. Participants will be observed and interviewed live and remotely over vMix. So again, a little reality here. I would normally use Zoom. I am a paid customer of Zoom, hashtag not sponsored. But the system I use to broadcast to all y'all and bring in my guests is vMix. I love it, not sponsored. But we will be bringing in our observational peeps that way. So would be great if the font is bigger. Okay, well, it's a browser window, so let's zoom in. How about that? Yes. Well, and again, if you're watching this on a phone, this font's never going to be big enough. But if you're on a laptop, hopefully that helps. And Peter, you can get an idea of how long a delay that was, because that's how long it took me to see that. Okay, so boop, boop, boop. Participants will be observed and interviewed live and remotely over vMix. Sessions will be recorded and later fed into an automatic transcription system like Otter for rough transcription. So I might actually do that. And what I might do is post those Otter transcriptions in the Slack workspace. So if you'd like to get those, and remember, they're usually about 92% accurate. They're really hit and miss. I'll make those available. But again, these will all be archived on YouTube. You can always rewatch them, and then Google will do the auto-generated captions too. Participants completing the entire session will be given a $100 Kitchen Thingies gift card as an incentive. Yeah, I'm not giving the people who are helping us out anything other than my eternal gratitude, so I'm pretending they will get a gift card, and of course, they will not. So again, thanks to everybody who's helping out. I'll figure out some nice thing I can do for all of you. We will ultimately deliver recorded sessions and Otter-generated transcripts. Now, Otter, not sponsored. If you have another system that you like to use, you can certainly use that for your auto-generated transcripts. We tried Descript last year, and we didn't love it, but I hear other people love it. So really hit and miss on some of these other tools. And remember, in UX, we're usually tool agnostic. As long as something gets it done, it kind of doesn't matter what it is. Affinity diagram, task analysis and optimized task flow, personas, and a final report with findings, insights, and suggestions. Now, really quickly, I was telling someone that to me, the difference between findings, insights, and suggestions is findings is like, here's what I found. Insights is, but here's what I noticed. Here's the theme, here's the pattern. And so here's where you put on your detective hat and you start to analyze it and you go, this isn't just what I heard. Here's what I found. And now it starts to be an insight, not just a finding. It's a distinction I make. Others might disagree. And then, of course, suggestions wouldn't necessarily be sketches of screens, but would possibly just say, here's some directions we could go based on what the research said. The lead researcher is Debbie Levitt. The assistant researcher is the low-ego action hero community. Work hours will be shared among the team. And again, none of you are being paid either, so thank you. Participant profile. So again, this is who are we hoping to interview, and I'm pretending the company doesn't necessarily have personas. We just kind of have like marketing buckets. You know, we have kind of a general idea. Without a current set of personas, this study's participants will focus on people who are currently not Kitchen Thingies customers, cooking for themselves and or others in their household, all genders, income levels, marital status, levels of tech savviness, living in the USA or Western Europe, conversational or fluent in English. Participants will be recruited via social media, Reddit, and Craigslist. We will post a link to our screener survey, which is not part of this micro lesson series. I'm not doing a screener survey or any recruiting. If you're going, where's Deb's recruiting video? Not doing one. Save that for another time. The database of respondents will be reviewed and managed. The best matches to our profile will be contacted about participating in our study. We believe that we have 4 home cook customer types. People cooking mostly for themselves, often one meal at a time. People cooking mostly for themselves, sometimes cooking a week of food at a time. Some of you, tell me in the chat, are some of you like, I cook for today or today and tomorrow versus I cook for 5, 6, 7 days and, put it in little containers in the fridge or freezer. So I'm pretending that those are kind of different customer types that we've identified, but, we'll see what our research shows. People cooking mostly for themselves and a family, often one meal at a time. People cooking mostly for themselves and a family, sometimes cooking a week of food at a time. So again, we might find from our research that all of these people acted similarly, had similar tasks, needed the same thing. Therefore, we don't necessarily have 4 personas. We'll see. I'm going to just go through this genuinely and see what we have. We would prefer to meet 8 to 12 of each of the above type to get a broad understanding of these people, their habits, preferences, tasks, and unmet needs. This would require an N, which is what we call the number of people we're going to evolve in the study, N for number, greater than or equals to 32. 8 to 12 people times 4 types. 8 times 4 is 32. We'd want to meet at least 32. Given our time constraints, and that this is a totally fake project, the goal is to meet at least 8 people. I have 8 scheduled now. We'll see if anybody cancels. Now again, if we were really doing recruiting, I normally invite 2N, 16 participants, knowing that many won't respond, they won't schedule, they never sign the consent form, also not part of this micro lesson series, maybe in the future we'll do consent forms, or not show up to the appointment. Then I book 1.2N, so this would be 10 people in this case, which didn't happen. Knowing that sometimes people cancel later or they don't show up. So we'll invite extra people if we learn early that we're not going to meet 10. Vitamin Panda says, what is the reason behind requiring at least 8 participants? Super question. So as far as I can tell, there's just a couple of rules of thumb that have come up through time immemorial. And you'll hear people say different things. Some people say meet at least 6 of each customer type. Some say try to meet 10. I've just found that to my average, I say, let's try to meet 8 to 12 of each customer type. I don't have, I don't remember where I even saw that or heard it, but I think I heard a whole bunch of people say meet 6. Then I heard some people say meet 8. Other people said, oh my God, meet 12 to 15. Someone else said meet 10. So I just use 8 to 12 as what I suggest. And from what I've heard, that's pretty commonly accepted. So Shannon has a great question. Shannon says, doesn't Nielsen-Norman Group say 5? This is a very common misconception. What Nielsen-Norman Group actually says about 5 is that 5 is a great number for your first round of usability testing. So so some people think the 5 means also research with 5. And you'll see that a lot sometimes in boot camps or newbies will say, well, NNG says 5 people, so I'm just going to talk to 5 people total, not even 5 of each type. And in reality, I believe that the 5 is about usability testing, like a prototype. And I believe it would hypothetically be 5 from each persona or type. And then they suggest for the second round of testing, you can bump that up a little bit, especially if you have other types of people you want to make sure you're testing on. Like you might have a whole bunch of people with accessibility needs who you now bring in for testing. Now that you've killed some of the initial bugs, you should always test with usability with people with accessibility needs. I'm not saying don't test with them in that first round, but sometimes people just grab anybody from their targets for round 1, and then round 2 they're a little bit more careful about including accessibility needs. But again, I think you can't go wrong including people with accessibility needs in every round. Daniela says 5 per customer type. Imamuzu says exactly, usability testing keyword. Dandrew says, what software do you use to find participants? Yeah, so we really should do a separate episode on recruiting. As of now, for recruiting, I just glue a whole bunch of different things together. I have an online survey system, which I then end up gluing into like a Google Sheet. And then I've got to email people, and then I book people with Acuity, which not sponsored, which is a competitor to Calendly. However, someday I will release my own system, which just might replace those. Zachary says, my professor recently recommended 9 to 3 to find issues, 3 more to confirm the issues, and 3 more to check the outliers. Sure, if you meet 5 people or usability test with 9, if you meet 9 people or usability test with 9, there's nothing wrong with that. I'm just responding to the thing that where Nielsen-Norman Group says 5. But I think that it's 5 before 5 of each customer type, and we still have to take people with accessibility needs into account. And right there, that could be 5 or 10 people. Vitamin Panda, who are you, says, I think this number might come from ANOVA analysis then. Like you can make subgroups in inferential stats, group difference analysis, but I was wondering if you can apply this for qual research. Vitamin Panda, you know you are the expert at ANOVA stuff, and that is going to be above my head, so I don't think I can respond to that, but thank you. Chang says, and they also suggest if there's patterns emerging after 2 or 3, you can stop and iterate. Yeah, sometimes I'll do all 5 because you never know what you hear from person 4 and person 5, where you go, oh crap, that too. Oh God, ouch. You know, a lot of these usability tests are not expensive. You know, they're $70 on the usability test website, whatever system you use, and it's $20 to $50 to the person. So no harm in going through with all 5. Tybalt says the hypothetical segmentation seems very specific. Do you allow yourself to challenge it in reality, or is it based on voice of the customer without interpretation from the project team? Yeah, so the hypothetical segmentation often comes from marketing or sales, who says, yeah, we sell to this group and we sell to this group. Like I have a potential client right now who's like, all I know is some people are B2B and some people are B2C. I go, okay, we're going to have to dig into that a little bit. Sometimes when people do give me some of their buckets, as I call them, I do try to push a little harder on them and see if the segmentation makes sense. Or sometimes it's just so broad, like B2B and B2C, that we've got to use the research to uncover who the customers are likely to be. And certainly in that case, we will recruit from the client's website, like intercept people and say, want to be part of this study because they're visiting the site. And hopefully that tells us more about who their customers are. Pradiador, who should leave Twitch and go to YouTube because this is my last Twitch stream, says, what usability test software do you use or recommend? I'm really not terribly in love with any of them right now, but I have been using Userlytics, not sponsored. So let me move on. Because we've got a discussion guide that we're going to write together, and we're almost halfway through this stream. But again, keep asking questions. Everyone's doing great. So I did a little plan and timeline to show in real life, how many hours would something like this take? Recruiting could easily take 40 hours. Those of you who have recruited for studies where you need even 8 people, but certainly 32 people or whatever, it's hours and hours of work, which I hope my future tool will help with. But it's a lot of work. So that's my estimation for our fake project. If we're going to meet 8 people and we're going to talk to them for an hour each, I like to block off 30 minutes before for prep and 30 minutes after for post to get some of my additional ideas and notes out of my head after the session ends. So I tend to block 2 hours per participant, times 8 participants in our case, 16 hours. Analysis and synthesis. So all y'all are going to be part of that. You're going to be rewatching. Oh, I never finished this. So we're going to, if we're going to have 8 hours of video, and I'm estimating 4x for people to rewatch the video, keep stopping it, write notes down, get those notes into the mural board, start to organize them by theme. I'm putting 32 hours on that. But again, this is how I usually calculate things. Some projects are different, but this is how I tend to do it. And also gives you an idea of how many work days. And I was saying to super friend of the show, Anita, today, that remember, count 4 hours in your day. Seriously, it's not 8 because you're taking lunch and you're taking breaks. And you will find that when you do super brain intensive work like this, you know, watching me is easy. Doing this stuff is super brain intensive. You might only have energy for 4 hours of this stuff in a day, and then you are done. That's fine. Totally fine. So assume maybe book yourself 4 hours a day of this stuff, which means hypothetically, if you were working alone, some of these things are stretching into days and weeks, and that's okay. And also remember, if you are new to CX and UX, being able to estimate your time and write out a project plan like this, strategy. And you might not be there yet, and that's also okay. Elijah says, wait, what are the 30-minute pre and post participant for? Is that buffer time, or are you talking to them in that time? Super question. It's right here. So no, I'm not talking to them in that time. So there's an hour in which I am talking to them. Then there's 30 minutes for me to set up, get my act together, get in the zone, and get all my notes ready and get all my pieces ready and make sure my tech's working. And then I've got 30 minutes after where it's kind of like my own brain download. What are you snapping over there? Oh, hand cream. Sorry, that snappy thing was my boyfriend putting on hand cream. Thanks, honey. So the 30 minutes after is definitely more important than the 30 minutes before. So the 30 minutes after is, okay, now that I just heard all that stuff from that person, is there a couple of notes that I want to take and just get out of my head while that is still really fresh? Wilson says, just like at any regular job, I heard people are only productive for around 4 to 5 hours. Correct me if I'm wrong. I haven't heard it. It's just what I've noticed from life. So Elijah, I used to do like 15 minutes before and 30 minutes after, but I just found, you know what, just to get myself in the zone and make sure I'm ready, pour myself a cup of water, open up all my tools, make sure I've got internet. I just do 30 minutes before and 30 minutes after to block out. And none of my clients have said, do you really need that time? Can't you cut off 15 minutes? Maybe. So that's the way that I look at that. Task analysis, 15 hours. Optimized task flow, 15 hours. Some of you are going to go, say what? Because you saw Larry Marine do that task analysis in the micro lesson on task analysis. But remember, he'd already finished it. So he was showing you a finished one. We're going to do one together later on in the calendar. A quick calendar note. Let's open this really quickly. I don't have this set up. Okay, quick calendar note. Now you're saying too many things here. Quick calendar note. Remember, deltacx.link is my URL shortener. So just add a bunch of things on the ends and you're going to get where you want to go. So /events will give you all the live events that I'm doing, including all of these. So add that to your Googly calendar. /reaction, I'm going to start doing Deb Reacts videos to the crazy crap y'all send in. So those will start in April. Those will be separate streams on Friday. Also note, I'm going to start doing 2 office hours every Tuesday to accommodate other time zones. There will be the usual 6:30 Italy time one and a 10 a.m. Italy time one, which should be better for UK and east of me. Charlene is posting... so because she subscribed and gets cool emoji. You can also check out my coaching and sign up for a free portfolio review if you haven't had a free one already. Otherwise, I charge for the second. And I think that's everything that's up there. Okay, good. Let's make sure I turn that off. Welcome to vMix. Okay, looking good. Okay, so 15 hours for optimized task flow, 15 hours for personas. And again, it's not that personas take 15 hours, but very often I'm estimating these blocks of time on the assumption that I'm going to go a few rounds with my clients or with my team and coworkers or with a stakeholder or with my lead. And so maybe the first round of personas takes me 8 hours. Then I've got to go talk to someone about it. And they go, what about this? Now, before you know it, you've spent 15 hours. So remember that my numbers are padded based on the assumption of rounds of feedback or collaboration with other people. That time's got to be accounted for. If you're a freelancer, you're billing for that. So don't forget. Chelsea says, I love these live sessions. I work from home. It's great to have educational sessions. Thanks, Chelsea. That's why I'm doing these. Chang says, if we take observation notes, will we be able to join the task analysis exercise? Yes and no. Because when Larry and I shared the mural board for the task analysis, it went really badly. I will be sharing the mural board for the affinity diagram, and you will get to put notes up. On the task analysis and optimized task flow, I'm going to do it more like this, where I'm going to just watch for your comments and I'm going to do some things live, so you'll be able to add to it that way. But if 30 of you, right now I've got over 37 people watching live. If you all showed up in the mural board for task analysis, that's going to be ugly. So not going to happen, but you will all be able to jump onto the mural board for the affinity diagram. You just make sure that you're not adding a note that's already there. Okay, so estimated work hours, 173 hours. I'm not really going to spend 173 hours, and neither are you, but this gives you an idea of the type of quote or proposal that I might either give an outside client as a freelancer or agency, or to just tell my own internal team if I'm working at a corporate job. Hey, everybody, this is 173 hours of research. If I am able to get done 25 hours of stuff a week, do the math on that. That's 7 weeks. And a lot of people go, oh, 7 weeks for research. We don't have that. You go, fine, give me another person to collaborate with me. Give me another UX researcher or an apprentice. Give me somebody who can share some of this work with me. And maybe it gets cut in half. Maybe the two of us can do it in 3 to 4 weeks. And then people go, oh, all right. All right, so now we're getting to the discussion guide, and here's where I want everybody's help co-writing this with me. I want you to think about the fake project that I've told you about. We've got a half hour left together. Wilson's going, stakeholders will go, we don't need it. Yeah, that's unfortunately true at many jobs and even some of my consulting clients, and you Gotta keep walking. Dandrew says, what if you're at a startup? I think the assumption in that question is, what if you're at a startup and they don't want to do this or pay for this? If you cannot convince a company to do at least some research. Now, I've pared this down to meeting 8 people. Now, could we take away anything from this? Do we have to do personas? We don't have to do personas. We saved 15 hours. Do we have to do task analysis and optimize task flow? I think they're very important. I wouldn't want to skip them. You could try to build some of the same things into the report, but these are things I don't like to see skipped. So to do research right, pretty much most of these pieces have to be there. We can't not recruit people. That's a mistake a lot of companies make. They say, just ask your coworkers when the coworkers aren't the users, or just ask some of your Facebook friends when the Facebook friends aren't the users. Sometimes the Facebook friends are the users and your recruiting is fast, easy, and cheap. But when it's not, it's not. So, can you spend less time talking to people? We're doing an observational research. We're going to ask them questions, watch them do stuff, and ask them follow-up questions. There's only so short that should get. Can it take us less time to analyze this? No, I don't think so. I think you're all going to be surprised at how long this takes. So you can cut, if I cut anything, I cut personas because companies can go on without them. I could try to cut some of the research report and maybe spend 10 hours instead of 40 and do I'll give you the 15 PowerPoint slide version. But in reality, I do like to give people the 50-page report version because they get so much more information. So it depends. There are ways to cut this down, but I definitely don't want to skimp on this because eventually you cut so much down that you're like, well, this just undid itself. This now has no purpose. It's not meaningful or it's highly flawed. You don't want to walk into highly flawed research. That undoes itself. So when you have people who say we don't need research, just talk to 2 friends, I'm at a startup, we don't care. Very often a startup says we don't need research, we're just going to build something and put it out there. They need to see all of my talks about why that's a huge waste of time. It's guessing. We're doing all these things that we're pretending are lean and shortcuts, but they're guessing. And guessing is incredibly wasteful and risky, and I don't know why people love guessing so much right now, but I'm assuming it'll eventually go out of style for everybody but startups. So here's what I've got for my discussion guide. I will voice act it for you, and you guys and gals and others tell me what you would change here, because maybe I did something wrong, what you would add to this. And here we go. Now, first thing I do is, Tybalt says, I would never recruit Facebook friends for any client project. It seems biased. Am I wrong? No, you are right. That can be a form of bias where you are only recruiting from friends you already have rather than a larger population. But sometimes we might tweet out a screener survey. Remember, you could still post a screener survey to Facebook or a Facebook page and just see what comes back in. If it's a bunch of your friends, you can always not include them. That's the beauty of the screener survey, which we're not really talking about today. But yes, in general, when I do recruiting, we're not sending it to Facebook. A project I'm working on now for another company, we posted to Craigslist and Reddit, and that's why I had that as part of the fake plan, was that we would post our screener survey there to get randoms and strangers. Now, first thing that I do, and this might be different from other people's styles, is as soon as the person pops up on Zoom or whatever you're using, I press record. Now, some people say you should ask them if they agree to be recorded. The funny thing about that is if you're not recording, you don't capture them saying, yes, I agree. Now, I assume that I've already given them my consent form, which says you will be recorded, and that they've signed that and that they understood it. So what you'll see is that I press record first, and then pretty quickly in the conversation, I remind them that they are being recorded and that they did give their permission for that, etc. So that style is a little bit different than some people who will say don't press record until they give you permission. But I feel like, well, then I didn't record them saying they give me permission, and later on they could say I never gave permission. Now you can't prove that. Chang says, Debbie, can you share your research plan with us? I had not done that, but I should do that. You're right. Thanks, Chang. I'll post this later in Thingy in Slack. Serena says, good point. So press record. Hi, I'm Debbie from Delta CX. We're a research agency helping kitchen thingies to better know home cooks. Thank you so much for being a part of our study. Now you're going to hear me do this 8 times in the next 2 weeks, and that's what I do. Dandrew says, I start with icebreakers and then ask permissions. Yeah, I don't. I tend to find icebreakers cheesy and distracting. But again, styles. Some people do a great job with that. I find it cheesy and distracting. Avraham says, nice idea about starting recording early. Thank you. I took it from calling call centers. You know, call centers say your call is being recorded or monitored for quality assurance. And I go, oh yeah, they've got to tell me they're recording it, and I don't get to say no. But again, hypothetically, these people read and signed the consent form, which we're not covering as part of this micro lesson series. Also, thanks for signing the consent. Thanks for signing the consent form earlier. I just want to double check that I have your permission to record our session. And in the case of our guinea pigs, broadcasted and archived on YouTube. Bah! And of course, usually the person goes, oh yeah, you can record me. Now, once in a while you get that person who goes, oh, what? I don't want to be recorded. And I'll say, well, is the issue that you don't want to be on camera or that you don't want your voice recorded? And they go, oh, I don't want to be on camera. Or what are you going to use this for? You've got to answer that. I say, well, this is just going to be shared internally with my team so that we can review the research and give our client a report, but this is not going to be on the internet or shared in public at all. It's going to be archived on a secure server and blah, blah, blah. And sometimes they go, all right, I guess it's okay. Or they say, no, I don't want to be recorded. If they don't want to be recorded, you have to stop recording. Don't pretend you stopped recording. Do what they say. Stop recording. I haven't had that happen yet, but I imagine it could. And then what you have to do is you have to take monster amazing notes because you won't have a recording. So we'll talk about that Wednesday when we do our first observational thing. Today will be pretty straightforward and shouldn't take more than an hour. I'll ask you some questions, we'll watch you cook a meal, and then I have some final questions. Please note that I'm hoping to hear you think out loud. Please tell me all of your thoughts and opinions, even if you think they're negative. We can't make things better without hearing where things are difficult or annoying. You can't give us too much information. Usually I say, and there are no wrong answers. You can't give us too much information, and there are no wrong answers. Let's start by getting to know you a little. Now, normally these are icebreakers for people. I don't start with icebreakers. I go right into the stuff I want to know, but I start with the easy stuff. Some people say like, how have you been? Or how was your Christmas? And I go, seems a little personal. I don't know you. And in this freaking pandemic, I'm afraid to ask people how they are or how their Christmas went. So I don't do that. But again, that's a stylistic difference. Zachary says, would we want to include a short bit that says they have permission to end the interview at any time if they become uncomfortable? Hypothetically, that was in my consent form. I usually don't repeat the entire consent form in the interview. I just say you signed the consent form and I'm double checking that we can record you. But the consent form says that. So I don't walk through the whole consent form because my consent form says a lot of things. As we discussed in the Slack workspace a week or a few days ago, my consent form says if you are racist, homophobic, blah, 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 I can end the session and not pay you. Yay! There's lots of things in the consent form that I don't repeat here. If someone seemed uncomfortable, I would want to judge that and say, are you comfortable continuing? But I've never had a project that had people uncomfortable. I'll tell you, we once did usability testing on a project I worked on for a San Francisco agency in 2013, and the target audience was, they thought, and this is a whole other story, promiscuous gay men, which was basically an insult right there, but it's another story. We had to recruit these 8 people for this thing about their sexual health and being tested for diseases. And there were people in the usability testing, when they saw the thing that we were making, that one guy was like, oh yeah, I got herpes in college. And people were just like, here's all the things. So while I recognize that someone could get uncomfortable in a session and not want to continue, and I would certainly accommodate that, I don't necessarily invite that, and it is in the consent form. Shannon is posting emojis of my dog. Dandrew says, do icebreakers actually contain data? I find that very often people use icebreakers as just icebreakers, like, hey, how are you? Or does anyone have an example of icebreakers? I don't use them, so I think they're cheesy. Here's where I start. So let's say we want a little bit of demographic information on people. I know some people are sensitive about their age, so I usually say, may I ask your age? And some people will say, I'm in my 60s. Like, they won't give me a number. And I might push them and go, got a number? But usually people say, oh, I don't mind telling you my age. I'm 103. These are easy questions that help us get to know people. They can't get it wrong. And so I like to start here. Who else is in your household living with you? So again, since we are pretending we're a company who cares about home cooks, and if home cooks are cooking for themselves or cooking for families, I'm trying to start to get a picture of the household and the environment. So again, if I've missed a question, put your idea here. I don't expect that I've got all the questions we're going to ask. This is a collaboration. Do you tend to cook mostly for yourself or for others as well? They'll tell us. Who in your household does the shopping? Hypothetically, maybe there's something our company can build that can help people coordinate something about their shopping. Who knows? I'm making it up. This is a totally fake project, but we're pretending that we want to learn general things about people who are cooking at home. What do you think about demographic questions at the end? I like some of these demographic questions at the beginning because they're easy. They ease people into some of the other either questions that are coming or the observational session. So like last year when I did research with online sellers, a lot of the early questions were, how long have you been selling online? What types of things do you tend to sell? Which marketplaces are you selling on? These were all important for the research, but they seem nice and easy softballs to start with. Freeg says, I lie and distance myself from whatever I'm testing or researching so people are more honest as a third party. Okay, so for generative research, I don't have to lie because there isn't anything here that I'm pretending is not mine. If this were usability testing or some sort of evaluative research, we do tend to lie, and especially if we designed it and now we're testing it, we'll say, well, I had nothing to do with designing this, so you can't hurt my feelings if there's something about this you don't like. That's the lie, and that's the only place in your life I allow you to lie. But since this is generative research, there's nothing for me to lie about. Hi, Kayleen. Also, Freeg, please notice this will be our last broadcast on Twitch. I'm dumping Twitch, so please come back to YouTube. How often do you go shopping at grocery stores or supermarkets? Just trying to learn a little bit of habit and behavior around cooking and meals and whatever. And again, if you have any ideas of some questions you think we should ask these people, let me know. Kayleen's at a disadvantage. You missed the beginning of this and what the fake project is. This is, well, Kayleen's going to be one of our cooks, so she knows we are going to watch people cook. Do you have any Internet of Things or smart home appliances or devices? And again, this is just to determine people's relationships with technology and if they're using some of these things, because our fake company that we're working for in this fake project makes some of these devices. So we're curious what people's relationships with them are and if they have any of these things. Kayleen says, meow, meow, hello. Hello, Henrietta, meow, meow. Charlene says, what about how many times do you cook in a day? Okay, I think that's fine. Let's add it to number 3. How many times, I guess we could how many times per day do you cook? Now, we might have to qualify that because for some people, cooking is taking something out of the fridge or freezer and microwaving it. So we might want to say, how many times per day do you microwave a pre-prepared meal? How many times per day do you cook something fresh or mostly from scratch? How about that? Let me know if I can make this better. Everybody. Oh, thanks, Freeg. Sorry about that. Tybalt says, can you tell me about the last time you cooked for yourself or for other people? Tybalt, what do we want to know about that? Because sometimes I find that when people write questions that are like, tell me about the last time you did this, I feel like it's a little bit too big. The last time you cooked for yourself or for people. Well, yesterday I made rice and meat. Well, I made fake rice and meat. Where do I start and where do I finish that story? So I sometimes feel like we have to give people a little clue. Yeah, Wilson says hot pockets, which of course will kill you. Joke, I don't know, don't sue me. So maybe we should look at, do people just microwave stuff or are they cooking fresh stuff from scratch? Who in your household does the shopping? How often do you go shopping at grocery stores or supermarkets? How about, do you get grocery or supermarket delivery? If so, how often? Would number of meals they eat a day be helpful? I don't know. I wonder if we're going to get that information from number of times they microwave something versus number of times they cook from scratch. We're going to get most of that. Obviously, like a bowl of cereal is kind of neither. You don't have to cook it and you don't have to microwave it. But I don't know. So I guess Shannon, I would just say, what are we hoping to learn? Elijah says, I would ask how they cook. Can we get an idea if they use microwave, scratch, prep, measurements? Kayleen says microwaving could be part of the recipe, like you've got a frozen bag of vegetables. Freeg says, do you enjoy cooking? Is it something you do for pleasure or to satisfy your need of food? Dandrew says, when's the last time you cooked with someone else? Okay, so let's get a couple of these in. I think they're nice. Let's take a look at, do you enjoy cooking? Okay, so where could we add that? Let's add that before shopping. Do you enjoy cooking or consider it a hobby? Maybe 2 questions. Do you enjoy cooking? If they do you consider it a hobby? If they don't enjoy it, they probably don't consider it a hobby. How often do you cook with family or friends versus cooking alone? What else? Remember, we only have an hour with these people, and I've told our grateful guinea pigs, thank you, I'm grateful, you're the guinea pigs, to not spend more than 30 minutes cooking. So that means we've got 30 minutes to ask them questions. We're already up to 14 questions before they cook, and then we have to think about the questions we would ask them after they cook. And yes, we will run late today so that we can do this together and call it done. Let's see. Have you ever taken cooking classes? Okay, that's a nice one. Have you ever taken cooking classes? Now, in person or online? Can you do online cooking classes? Maybe in person? I don't know. What do you think? Serena, what do you think? Do we need to ask in person or online? Nicole says, I don't know if this is relevant. I came late. Do you always cook in the same kitchen? That's an interesting one. So let's see. Do you always cook in the same kitchen? Do you tend to cook in the kitchen you're in now? If not, where else do you tend to cook? I think that's a really nice point from Nicole, which is some people, especially moms and grandmas, might be going over to grandchildren's house to cook. What about asking, how did you learn to cook? I'm not sure everybody learned to cook. I mean, many of you are going to be cooking for us in the next week or two. Did you learn to cook? Or you just kind of did the best you could? So I'm not even sure. I don't want to assume that people learned to cook. So I think I would not necessarily jump on that question. Do you have IoT or smart home devices? Which ones? How do you use them? Are you using a recipe for today's cooking session? Where do you find good recipes? Do you have any favorite apps or websites you use related to cooking or meal preparation? Before today's cooking session, what did you do to prepare any of the ingredients? And that, I think, is like a great lead-in to having them then cook, because they've told us a little bit about any prep they've done ahead of time. Maybe they go, oh, yeah, I thought we'd run out of time, so I chopped my vegetables already. Or I was worried we'd run out of time, so I preheated my oven. Elijah says online would be more for cooking videos. Do you watch cooking videos or follow recipes when you cook? Okay, we could ask that. Do you tend to use recipes or follow cooking blogs or videos? If so, do you have favorite cooks, blogs, or videos? Vitamin Panda says, Charlene says, hold on, there's a whole bunch of things here. Are you an adventurous cook in terms of learning new recipes? Well, I'm not sure that helps our company invent something. So maybe. Jag says, where do you get recipes to help you cook? Okay, I think we just put that up. Denise says, how do you feel after you cook? Denise, I'm going to challenge you and ask you why that matters. Charlene says, I guess the cooking classes can fit. How did you learn to cook? Yeah, maybe. Because I've taken a couple of cooking classes, but I don't feel like I learned to cook, you know? I took a few classes, but it's not like I took knife skills and like the foundations of cooking. Vitamin Panda says, is there a difference between how often and in the last month or week, how many times have you? Not really. Either way, you're speaking to trends. The only difference is if I say in the last month, how many times do you, okay, so Vitamin Panda, in the last month, how many times have you eaten a healthy green vegetable? You don't freaking know. So that's why I probably tend to go with some more general questions like, how often do you tend to do something? And if people go like, oh yeah, I do that every day. Oh, once a day? Oh no, maybe twice a day. Or no, I don't do that often. Once a week? Oh no, less than that. You know, so I'm going to follow it up. If I ask somebody a how often question, I'll get to the bottom of it. Dandrew says, how did this pandemic affect your cooking? That is a good one. Let's get that one in there because we are trying to speak to how things have changed. So Now that I've asked them all these questions, let's sneak one in and say, have any of your shopping or cooking habits changed because of the pandemic? Yes, that was a goal for our research, so thanks to Dandrew for reminding us to get a question about that. Whether we ask them before they cook or after they cook, we want to get that one in there. Vitamin Panda says 5,000. Well, then you are full of vegetables. Vitamin Panda, remind me who you are. Oh, Denise says, what do you enjoy cooking? Yeah, I feel like we're starting to get in the weeds. Remember, if this information isn't really going to help us understand people and design something for them, I'm worried we're getting a little bit too in the weeds. What is an easy meal to cook versus a difficult meal to cook? Okay, that's a little bit interesting. That gets at what people perceive as hard or easy. You know, some people might say macaroni and cheese in a box is easy and ossobuco not so easy. So let's try something like that. Give me examples of easy meals that you cook. Give me examples of difficult meals. Now, is it that they do cook or that they wish they could cook? Do we want to go more current reality or fantasy? I mean, because both speak to people's thoughts. Okay, so Denise is saying some people feel stressed or some people may feel relaxed cooking. Let's see. I think I have a question and I'm trying to think of where to put it. I think my question would be, what is your mood when you're what tends to be your mood when you're cooking? And does cooking change that mood? What do you think of that? And where would you put that? Maybe towards the end. Dandrew says that's more of an assumption, but you have to remember, Dandrew, on LinkedIn, you are sometimes 2 minutes behind us because of LinkedIn delays. So when people use that, I have no idea what you're referring to. We are now like 2 minutes later, so I don't know what you think is an assumption. I would love to clean up assumptions, but I don't know what that refers to. So everybody make sure you are not using pronouns. Jamie says, if you could only keep one smart home appliance, which one would you keep and why? Okay, let's get that in. Now remember, the more questions we ask, the more you all have to put up stuff on that affinity diagram. So prepare for the avalanche. Daniela says, difficult meal. Could we ask about problems preparing a certain dish? That's hard. You know, if you say to someone like, what is your problems when cooking? It could be anything. It could be, I had the wrong ingredients. I dumped the wrong ingredient in. My kid was kicking me. I'm concerned about how do we ask that? Oh, yeah. Someone Serena reminded us it could be TV shows, cooking blogs, videos, or TV shows. I don't watch TV much, so I forgot it existed. Check me out. Elijah says, yeah, this is going to be a lot. Let's go with what Freeg is saying. What is your dream kitchen? Actually, that's a great question for after they cook. So remember, after they cook, they're either going to be really jazzed about it, kind of neutral about it, or kind of grumpy about it. So we can ask them down here for a question like that. What is your dream kitchen smart home appliance? How do you get inspiration from cooking? Ooh, one experience that went wrong. It could be anything, and I don't know how to solve it. If it's their kid kicking them or the dog pooped on the floor, like, you know, our fake company can't fix that. I'm preparing to answer these. Charlene's like, I'm preparing to answer these 21 questions. Okay, look, we've got 21 questions before people cook, and then we've got 2 questions after they cook. So let's start by looking again, and I'm going to run late today. I hope some of you can stick around. I'm going to zoom out a little bit to try to see more of this at once. So I apologize, the font will get small. If you're on a phone, it's going to suck. Let's take a look at these, and can I do like view full screen? Yeah, that'll help. Let's take a look at these and see if we think that we can remove any of these or move them to after the person cooks, just so that we don't have 2 freaking zillion questions. And remember to focus on, remember our goals. Our goals are to learn about people home cooking for themselves or others in the pandemic, on the assumption that the company we fake work for will hopefully come up with a product or service or digital thing that would help home cook. So what can we learn that's going to help us invent that thing, whether it's digital or a physical device? Let's see. Wilson says, Charlene, don't prepare, you're cheating. Naz says, oh, some people will ramble. Yeah, that's true. We do get some ramblers. Oh my God. Denise says, do you share what you cook in social media? I do think that's a good one. Let's ask them that after they cook. After you cook, do you tend to photograph it and or share it on social media? Because I sure do. Y'all aren't following that account. I haven't told you that account, but I sure do. My friends are bored to death looking at my keto cooking. Let's see, what else? Lezego says, I would complete number 16 with you attempted to cook. Give me examples of, oh, that's fun. That's a great idea, Lezego. Thank you. It's like, I tried to do it, but it didn't quite work out. Okay, give me examples of difficult meals you attempted to cook. And again, those could have worked out well or not worked out well. Maybe difficult meals that maybe take more time versus quick meals. Okay, maybe we could say, give me examples of easy or quick meals that you cook. Oh, Denise totally hit it. I meant to put this question in and I totally forgot. Do you follow a special diet? And that's also for people in the household as well. So do you tend to cook mostly for yourself or others? Do you or anybody else in the household follow a special diet? So again, we won't ask anybody else in the household if they say they only cook for themselves. Like, for example, you'll learn on Wednesday that even though my boyfriend and I live together, we actually cook completely separately because he's vegetarian and I'm keto, carnivore. So we might eat together, but we won't cook together. Kayleen says, everyone has a definition of quick or long. For my mom, quick is 2 hours. That's true. We're not going to get at everything here, but let's see. Shannon says, yeah, I was going to say that. Diet or allergies, or have food allergies or food sensitivities. I certainly do. I have a mountain of them. Shannon says, I have a keto Instagram. Good job, Denise. I meant to put that one in. Wilson says, my mom and grandma, they can take a whole day to cook. Yeah, same in Italy. People will cook for hours and they think nothing of it. Did I miss any comments? Dandrew said, how do you get inspiration for cooking? But I think we're going to speak to that with blogs, videos, TV shows. So please look at these questions and tell me if there are any that you would remove, rewrite, or move to after they do their cooking and we've observed them. And remember, that this is a discussion guide. I never use this as a hard script. I will definitely go off script and I will chase some things that people will say, or I will chase answers that are incomplete, or if the conversation goes in a funky way, I may chase it, or I may try to get people back on track. So remember, that's why this is a discussion guide and it is not a hard script. Shannon says, we are so much alike. That may be true. Yeah, so anything else? Any of these questions that you would move to after they've cooked? Just to break this up a little bit, so some questions are before and some are after. And anybody can, if anybody has any questions they think are really important to our fake project that would really help us understand people, understand their tasks. Remember, we're going to do task analysis. Let's get those questions in there. Kayleen says, should you ask about disabilities? Yeah, you're right. I do tend to ask about disabilities. I wasn't sure what to do because we're interviewing friends of the show. And I thought, like, do I put Kayleen up on a video and ask her if she has disabilities? So I agree that in general, I do ask these questions because the video is not going to go on YouTube. Typically, I will ask people something that sounds like this. Do you have any issues with vision, mobility, or dyslexia, vision, mobility, dyslexia, or other accessibility needs that may affect whatever it is, how you use websites, how you cook in the kitchen? I'll normally ask that. But because you guys are all friends, I didn't want to put you live on a thing and ask you if you have disabilities. But you're right. I do ask that. I just didn't want to ask you that. Elijah says, can you move the shopping question to after they cook? Does it really matter if it's before? We could group the shopping questions together and we could put them at the end. So let's see. Who in the household does the shopping? How often do you shop? Do you get grocery delivery? Let's move that to after. And we also had another one I think we could move that was about shopping. Have your shopping or cooking habits changed because of the pandemic? I think we can ask that one after it starts to feel like a good wind down question. Serena says 17, but now I've already changed what these things are numbered. Time. Serena, is it this 17 about apps and websites, or did I already move it? Let me keep this up. So who would move what where, and for what the research goals of our fake project are? Is anything really, really missing? There's always curious questions we have for people, but to get at the goals of our research, what's missing? Oh, about the difficulty. Difficulty. Do you mean the easy, quick meals and the difficult meals? 13 and 14? Would you move 13 and 14 to the end? I guess the current 17 can be moved. Do you have any favorite apps or websites you use related to cooking or meal preparation? Actually, that seems like it's a cousin of the one we have up here. Do you tend to use recipes following cooking blogs or videos or TV shows? That seems like the same question, because the question I had was, do you have favorite apps or websites you use related to cooking or meal preparation? Do you tend to use recipes, websites, yeah, how about that? Now we cut a question. Let's read through these. I'm going to read them out loud. Let's see if we think any of these are repetitive, if anything should be reworded, if anything's missing. So let's see. May I ask your age? Who else is in your household living with you? Do you tend to cook mostly for yourself or for others as well? Do you or anybody else in the household follow a special diet or have food sensitivities? How many times a day do you microwave a pre-prepared meal? How many times per day do you cook fresh or mostly from scratch? Do you enjoy cooking? Do you consider it a hobby? How often do you cook with family or friends versus cooking alone? Do you tend to cook in the kitchen you're in now? If not, where else do you tend to cook? I think that one is not that important, because if we sell people appliances, can they take them somewhere else? I don't know. Anyway, we'll leave it for now. And if we don't learn anything from it, great. And if we learn something from it, great. But it seems like the type of question where when I try to imagine what I'm going to learn from it, I'm not sure there's anything meaty there. Have you ever taken cooking classes? Do you tend to, and of course we can, follow that up with what types of classes have you taken? Do you tend to use recipes, websites, or follow cooking blogs, videos, or TV shows? If so, do you have favorite websites, cooks, blogs, videos, or TV shows? Do you have any Internet of Things? I'm going to write that out just so I remember to say it. Written Internet of Things or smart home appliances or devices. Oh, you do? Which ones? How do you use them? Which is your favorite and why? Give me examples of easy or quick meals that you cook. Give me examples of difficult meals you attempted to cook. What tends to be your mood when you're cooking? And does cooking tend to change your mood? Let's break that into two. So remember, you don't want to ask compound questions as much as possible. Same on surveys, but surveys suck. What tends to be your mood when you're cooking? Boop, boop, boop. Does cooking tend to change your mood? Do you do anything while cooking, like listen to music or watch videos? I'm almost always listening to music and singing, right, honey? So maybe a little bit more around those habits and behaviors. Are you using a recipe for today's cooking session? Where do you usually find good recipes? Before today's cooking session, he's delayed 14 seconds. That was his yes. Before today's cooking session, what did you do to prepare any of the ingredients? Before I watch you cook something, do you have any questions for me? Wait for questions. I think we have around 30 minutes for cooking. You can use some or all of that time. Please talk us through everything you're doing. Now observe, shut up, and make notes. I hope that's as delicious as it looks. Sorry to keep you from eating, but I have a few more questions. Nicole says, if you use recipes, do you use recipe books or read recipes for mobile or electronic? I think we'll get a little bit of that from blogs, videos, TV shows. I'm not sure we have to ask them if they have paper recipe books or not. Should we ask about meal kits like Blue Apron in the question about ingredients? Hey, good to see you, Niku. Maybe we can add that after, because remember we said, do you get grocery or supermarket delivery? Have you tried any of the meal prep delivery services like Blue Apron? Can anyone name any other ones? I don't remember what they're called. Blue Apron or blah, blah, blah. Charlene says 16A is too similar to blog books. Yes, I thought so too. Let me take that out. We definitely have enough questions now about shows, videos, cooking, yeah. HelloFresh. Oh yeah, see, when you don't live in America, you don't know. HelloFresh. So we could say that. So Blue Apron or HelloFresh. Oh. Jog says in UK we have HelloFresh. Okay, well, I live on an island that has no food. No, I'm kidding. We don't have. I can't get delivery of anything. I'm lucky Amazon packages show up. Okay, I hope that's as delicious as it looks. After you cook, do you tend to photograph it or share it on social media? Who in your household does the shopping? How often do you go shopping at grocery stores or supermarkets? Do you get grocery or supermarket delivery? How often? Have you tried any of the meal prep delivery services like Blue Apron or HelloFresh? Have any of your shopping or cooking habits changed because of the pandemic? What is your dream kitchen smart home appliance? And if you had a magic wand and could improve anything about cooking or meal preparation, what would you change? Someone airlift Debbie some food. No, I cook all my own food, almost all of it. Saturday is homemade pizza day here at our house. That's it for our time together. Thank you so much for being a part of our study. It was great to learn more about how you tend to cook meals at home. My assistant will email you in the next few days to get your $100 Kitchen Thingies gift card. Do you have any last questions for me? Anything all y'all would change about this? Because I'm going to start asking these on Wednesday. And if some of them die a terrible death, I will rewrite them. But we're going to use this on Wednesday with Pier Mario. Pier Mario, what will you be cooking for the audience? What will you be cooking?
I'm dying to cook with cheese and cacio and pepper done.
My Italian boyfriend says he's going to make pasta.
Yeah, cacio and pepper.
Cacio?
Cacio is like cheese and pepper, cheese and black pepper.
Okay, he's going to make spaghetti with cheese and black pepper. Ooh. He says it's beautiful. Well, it's certainly easy to cook. That's going to go on the easy list, not the difficult meals. I hope he doesn't say it was difficult, but now I'm priming him. So, yeah. Wilson is crying or sweating. I can't tell. All right, so we've gone over late, and I want to thank everybody for staying a little bit longer. I will get a URL for this puppy. How do I break out a full screen? And let's get this cooking here. So, let's have everybody have the power to comment, but not the power to edit. And I will go post this in our Slack channel. Okay, we have a question. When you prep a discussion guide, do you get it checked by peers? So depending upon what I'm doing, sometimes I will check it with peers, and sometimes I will also check it with my client. Remember, I'm often a freelancer or an outside agency, so I will often show it to the client. And no, it's not cacao and pepe, Serena. It's cheese and pepper. Yes, right. Okay, just checking. Yes, I do normally run this by some other people so that I'm not the only person looking at it. I will show it to the client and say, these are the things we plan to ask the participants. If they ask me to include questions, I will normally rephrase them. So just because a client says, oh yeah, ask them if they like kitchen thingies, I go, hey, wait a minute, this is not a marketing extravaganza. We're not here to judge what they think of your company, and that's going to really screw with things. Question was, how do I join the Slack channel? So let's go back to just a giant picture of me. And let's put that up here. So the Slack channel is deltacx.link/join Slack. It's totally free to join. Let's see what other questions we have. Do you make different discussion guides for each persona? Only if we think that each persona is going to do something kind of different. If we are looking to meet home cooks, then I have one discussion guide for home cooks. I mentioned earlier that I did some research last year where the audience was online sellers. We did two different versions of that discussion guide because 61 of those sellers came from our client. They recruited people selling on their website through their platform. So we asked all 61 of them the same questions. The other 10 were going to be recruited another way, and they weren't going to come from the client. And so we needed to lie to them and not tell them who the client was. So they got slightly different questions because we were trying to learn something slightly different for them. But we didn't change for personas. We changed because we were trying to ask different groups different questions. But in general, I try to ask the same questions as much as possible, because if you start asking different questions, how are you going to compare apples to apples? How are you going to get it all on the affinity diagram without being full of crap? So it's really important to make sure that as much as possible you're asking all the groups of people the same questions. And if the discussion guide is different, you might want to start on a separate Mural or Miro, not sponsored, board, just to see if you're getting something different from the group that got these questions versus the group that got these questions. Constantina says, is the 30 minutes allocated to the cooking time itself a bias? Yeah, absolutely. We certainly could tell people we'd like to watch you cook a 2-hour roasted lamb shank. And that might be a very different experience than what they can do in a half hour. So that is a bias, but we've made that a parameter of this research. And what I'll normally do is in the report, I will say, here's the research method, here's what we did. And then I'll usually have a section of my report that says, like, what could have made this research biased? Like, what do I think there's any potential flaws in this study? And you'll see me writing the report, and we'll get there. So I could say we only gave people 30 minutes to cook, and in reality, some people spend more than 30 minutes cooking. And so if we think that we have, if we want to do more research, observational research with people who really cook longer or more involved dishes, perhaps we can pick that up as a separate study and recruit specifically for people who will hang out with us for 2 or 3 hours and cook the thing. And so just as we close up, just a reminder here on YouTube, please empathize with the like button and let the algorithm know this was pretty good. Please subscribe here and ring the bell so that you'll know when we're going live or I'm putting up some of my pre-recorded videos. We do have the Slack workspace, as you saw. And of course, I do have the tip jar, or again in YouTube, you can use super chat or super stickers, or I hope some of you will press join and become official low ego action heroes at the junior or mid level. Just press join and you'll learn more about it. Niku says, hey Debbie, if people take longer than 30 minutes, do you interrupt them or allow them to complete the cooking process? Yeah, that's tough. I have to make a call with that. Depending upon what they're cooking and how much of their attention it requires, like if they're waiting for something to happen or they're microwaving something for 4 minutes and they're kind of waiting for it and they're doing nothing and we're all standing there, I could say, hey, while you're microwaving that, let me ask you another question. And so, but I have to understand how many minutes that they're waiting for something, and do I have a short question that fits in there? And if they're running longer than 30 minutes, I think I would either have to play it by ear as to whether I start to ask them ending questions while they're cooking, or whether I say, it seems like your cooking might take a little bit longer than we planned today. Are you able to stay longer? And maybe an extra 15 minutes together. And they might say, oh, yeah, sure. So we just have to play it by ear and see which is the right way to go. Niku says, thank you for this session. Thank you, Niku. Happy to see you. Any other questions about writing a plan for observational research? Again, this is part of my style. It's not perfect. You'll see other people with other styles. I'm not going to say there's one right way. Very often, I'm not necessarily writing plans like this. I'm more typically writing agency proposals. And those proposals are a little bit more wordy because I go into why I'm doing each thing. If I work at a job and I'm showing this to my coworkers or my UX manager, I don't have to explain why I'm doing a certain thing. But very often my agency clients are like, why would you do that? And why does that take that long? And so I kind of pre-answer those in my proposals. So I send out long proposals. Any last questions before we wrap up? Well, please remember that I will be streaming every day, 11 of the next 12 days. I hope to see you. It'll be the same time. Sorry about some of the time zone wackiness. Tomorrow will be Office Hours Ask Me Anything with special guest Russell Bowers. I hope he's still on. Did he write me back? He is a well-known Canadian radio host. Hold on. He says, how do I do this? Okay, so Russell's in. He just needs some help getting set up into vMix, and luckily it's really easy. Hold on. Just checking if there's any important emails. No. Okay, great. Kayleen says it'll be important to say why I do things in my portfolio. Yeah, for sure. So remember, tomorrow is Office Hours Ask Me Anything with famous Canadian radio host Russell Bowers. He knows nothing about UX, so he's going to get 15 seconds to give you comedy answers to your question, and then I will answer your question seriously. I hope you'll join for that. It should be informative and fun. Wednesday the 17th, we're going to watch my boyfriend cook. Thursday the 18th, we're going to watch Charlene cook. Friday the 19th, we're going to watch Julia cook. I don't think Julia was here today, but we're very grateful. Saturday, Kayleen is going to cook for us. Sunday, Maggie, friend of the show, is going to cook for us. Monday, Joel Barr is going to cook for us. Tuesday the 23rd, Office Hours Ask Me Anything with special guest, Steve Portugal. Yes, really. Wednesday the 24th, regular podcast. It'll have an episode number. It's not part of this series. That's going to be setting up a user research pool with our friend Sotiris. Thursday the 25th, nothing. Friday the 26th, Naz is going to cook for us. Thank you, Naz. Sunday the 28th, Randy Bapst from UX Stars is going to cook for us, though he said he usually doesn't cook. Monday the 29th, we will all return to make our affinity diagram. You'll all be invited to Mural, not sponsored. You don't need an account. I'll invite you as anonymous animals into mine. So put that down, Monday the 29th. Tuesday the 30th, Office Hours, Ask Me Anything. Wednesday the 31st, not broadcasting. Oh yeah, don't forget giveaway. Try exclamation point giveaway in YouTube. Can you try exclamation point giveaway in YouTube and see if that lets you all enter the giveaway for the ticket to the BAD conference? Try it, YouTubers. I tried to set up exclamation point giveaway and exclamation point 8-ball. Friday the 2nd is going to start a new type of stream that I'm going to do on Fridays at usual time, 6:30 p.m. my time. Charlene says no Three Musketeers this month. No, we're going to start in April. Friday, April 2nd is going to start Debbie Reacts videos. I'm going to do them live. So send me your things you want me to react to. Boot camp, curricula, social media posts, LinkedIn posts. I'm always asked, what do you think of this? Well, let's just do a Debbie Reacts video every Friday and you'll know. I'm going to try to keep those to about 15 minutes so that they're short and wacky. Monday the 5th, Easter Monday, is going to be task analysis. Tuesday the 6th is going to be office hours. Wednesday the 7th, optimized task flow. Friday the 9th, we have a podcast with Seth Finkel, but at a weird time, so check deltacx.link/events. Critical Thinking with Dr. Seth. Monday, April 12th, Personas. Tuesday, April 13 is going to be Three Musketeers. We're going to do this, I think it's the second Tuesday of each month, will be Office Hours Ask Us Anything with the Three Musketeers, Darren Hood, Dr. Nick, and me. And don't forget, I'm adding that second Office Hours Ask Me Anything. It's just going to be me alone. Tuesdays, 10 a.m. Italy time, so check when that is for you. Americans, you're probably sleeping, hint, hint. But 10 a.m. Italy time starting not this week, next week, because people east of me wanted me to do an office hours they could come to live. So Charlene says it's not working. What's not working? Oh, exclamation point giveaway. All right, I'll work on that. And then we've got Michelle Ronson coming back April 19 for transitioning into user research. And then Wednesday, April 21, we'll be writing our report for our fake research. So hopefully by April 21, this adventure will be done. That's like weeks and weeks, but you know, with all these other things going on, that's the best I could do. So that is going to be the plan. If you have any questions or comments about the plan, please find me in Slack. I'd be happy to talk about it. And I will go paste this whole thing into Slack right now before I forget. Please hold. I'll put it in the live events channel if you're on my Slack, live events. You probably already left. Now everybody's going to look for it. Boo. All right, I'll just put it in general. Okay. Cooking research plan doc. All right, there we go. All right, if nobody has any other questions. Oh, by the way, somewhere in there was an office hours Ask Me Anything where Larry Marine's going to be our guest. I'm just forgetting which day it is, but I think it was April. But I promise to let you know. So I hope to see lots of you tomorrow for office hours Ask Me Anything. Remember, let me put this back up on the screen. Remember that you can ask your questions ahead of time at deltacx.link/ask. That will queue you up for an office hours question for tomorrow. I have changed it to ask you if you're going to be part of the earlier one at 10 a.m. my time or the later one at 6:30 p.m. my time. But please note, tomorrow there's only one. So whichever you answer, if you answer early, I'm going to save it for next week when I actually start these early ones. So otherwise, if you answer 6:30 p.m., it'll be answered tomorrow, and badly by our comedian, Russell Bowers. Yes, he's Googleable. Canadian radio host and comedian. All right, I think that's it. I've gone way too long, but honestly, I do expect a lot of these micro lessons to run more like an hour and a half. I'm trying to block an hour and a half out on my calendar for most of them, and that way I don't have another call I have to run to. So I keep saying I'm running late, but I think a lot of them will be an hour and a half. So thank you again. If you liked it, please let friends and other people know that this was a great session to watch. If you have comments or suggestions for me, definitely send them over on Slack or comment here on the YouTube channel. Also helps in the algorithm. And I hope some people will also support the channel and become a Low Ego Action Hero member. So I'm going to sign off for now. Thanks to everybody, and I hope to see you all tomorrow. Thanks so much. Bye. Delta CX, available for CX and UX consulting, projects, and training. Contact us for a free consultation.